The Chitin Dagger. Probably the second worst weapon in the game ahead of the Chitin Club, but you can make anything viable in Morrowind with the 3-mile-wide asterisk that you also have to use Kagranak's tools at the end because the game is hard-coded for it. So come with me on a journey of how you can break Morrowind over your knee using facts and logic. Morrowind is a game about knowledge. The only barrier between you and the impossible is how well you know the system. Alchemy is overpowered. Make potions that make you better at making potions and you can scale up infinitely. Alchemy looping is simply too powerful to even be entertaining. So, while most other exploits are generally on the table, I'll do my best to avoid using it going forward. Alchemy looping, that is. Alchemy on its own is still quite fun. Potion effect stacking is definitely an intended mechanic. It's built into the puzzles of the Tribunal expansion. It's balanced out by being incredibly expensive to achieve with existing potions and booze. I also won't be enchant looping. I might enchant some stuff, I just won't enchant stuff that makes me better at enchanting. And I won't be enchanting chitin daggers either. That would be overkill. Really, the most fundamental restriction for today is that if I deal damage, it has to be through a chitin dagger.
What's your name?
My name is Kai 10, to remind everyone of the correct pronunciation. I almost never play Dunmer, but they have a bit of an advantage with short blades, so here we are. This is going to be a pretty generic combat build with mysticism and security thrown in for good measure. We'll take the steed sign and focus on building speed going forward. Before we can even clear customs, our murder hoboing begins. Full-on Seyda Neen shuffle. Steal the key to the warehouse, backtrack to steal everything from the office, give the ring to the wood elf whose name sounds like a slur, sell stuff to a rill, climb the lighthouse for the skill book, jump off to get the spark axe, luminous rosula, violet compertus, hypophagia, and bungler's bane. A rill again, start pulling the copper wire out of the walls at the census and excise warehouse, plenty of delicious skooma and moon sugar, drop the heavy stuff, go see Tarheel, go see the taxman, pick the heavy stuff back up, and then it's off to Balmora. Fargoth's hiding spot takes too long. Step 1 of literally any full playthrough. Do the Mage's Guild quest until you get the intervention amulets. Mushrooms, soul gems, flowers can be stolen from the upper district. Ejira is one of very few vendors with decent cash supplies that is actually willing to buy skooma and moon sugar. Very nice payday. Here's literally a soup bowl, thanks for asking. Here's your stolen reports. Sell a bunch of crap to Galbadir now that I'm no longer carrying drugs. Read Sun's Dawn Book 2, buy Chronicles of Nichuleft, sell Revere a bunch of random crap, over to Sadrith Moor to get a potion from Skinkin Tree's Shade, Chirmar Vimidium, however you pronounce that. Wind up in Caldera, visit Gorak Manor, steal the Orcish armor, sell it to Creeper without really thinking too hard about it, buy the Amulet of Recall from Varric Germain, steal the Master Alchemy set in the tower, head back to Sadrith Mora, go to the Alchemy Shop. The Alchemy Shop in Sadrith Mora carries 3 restocking potion ingredients that combine into a Restore Health and Fatigue potion. They get 5 more of each ingredient every time you open the menu. You can buy as much as you want, it's just really tedious. My alchemy level is 5 right now, so my potions will almost always fail. But the bright side is that because it's a miscellaneous skill, it won't throw off my main level progress. This is what getting a day job in Morrowind looks like. It's really reliable and really, really boring. You need some pretty serious investment capital to get this ball rolling, but eventually you can print money. Computer. 500 health potions. Computer. 500 health potions. Computer. 500 health potions. So that was a half hour of my life. I took a stack of 30-ish mid-level Restore Health and Fatigue potions. This particular recipe makes really light potions, so I can carry about 30 and it'll weigh about the same as a single Sujamma. It'll do for now. From here, I pay a visit to my old friend Rollin, and then I talk to Caius. Don't worry, I totally haven't forgotten the Mage's Guild questline. Asfat wants his puzzle box. I check the local vendors for chitin daggers, and nobody has any. Neither does Ariel. I figured if anyone in the game had a weapon this week, it would be the game's first shop. Not to worry, I know where to find a guaranteed spawn of a chitin dagger. And it's in this area, even. Oh, yeah, I should probably mention that I stole intervention scrolls from the guild chests. Dagger of Judgment, Skull of Levuul Andrano, Divine Intervention to escape, No, Pelagiad. I never go here. Let's see the armorer. Hey, can I get a... Okay, Pelagiad is a dead end for fast travel. Let's see where Civvy takes us. Oh god, not Vivek. Alright, off to Arkngthand. The Dagger of Judgment does strengthen endurance damage on strike. It's not actually that useful, but it can kill ghosts, which is nice. And yes, it is a Chitin dagger, check UESP. As you can see, the damage is pathetic. But what's more insidious is the durability. Because chitin is such a low-grade material, they don't last that long, and they take a lot of strikes to kill. The result is that this dagger can chew through maybe 4 humanoid enemies before it completely breaks. I did take armor as a minor skill so I can repair them and have their durability last longer, but it's still pretty rough. The lower the durability is, the less damage it does as a direct percent-to-percent conversion. So, not only do they do very little damage, they do less damage almost immediately. The way that weapon durability works in Morrowind seems to be not well understood. It's not only per strike, it's also how much damage you deal, and having a high strength seems to chew through durability faster. But it's really all just conjecture. To my knowledge, I am on the bleeding edge of durability testing for low-grade weapon spamming. This is one of the most fragile weapons in the game. Only glass is more fragile than chitin. To be expected, I suppose. In order to take the edge off of mashing my mouse this hard, I try binding attack to the mouse wheel. It doesn't work. Okay, that's just ridiculous. I actually can't kill this guy without breaking my dagger, so it's time for a tactical retreat. The upshot of using what is probably the cheapest weapon in the game is that the repair cost is at worst 5 gold. I also buy some repair hammers, but these things are heavy, so I try not to carry too many at a time. Level 2. Strength, Speed, and Intelligence, because I maxed out its stat with alchemy levels. Speaking of which, I dumped my alchemy equipment in Sadrith Mora because it's heavy and your movement speed is determined by your current encumbrance. Now, because I'm a scatterbrain, it's off to Hulleen's hut to finally zip up the Mage's Guild quest. This scamp is usually a pushover, but with a chitin dagger, he's still pretty tanky. I try to abuse the strength drain locking him in place to just bypass him, but it turns out you have to kill him to clear the quest. And there we go. 2 Amulets of Intervention. Back to Arkngthand. You run ever so slightly faster at full stamina, so I chug one of those artisanal potions I made to cut a bit of time off of the run. Morrowind has an auto-run key, or at least OpenMW does. Kinda makes it feel like an MMO. Still, if somebody refuses to play this game because they dislike walking in a straight line for 10 minutes straight, I can't say I blame them. Oh right, you're still here. One of the nice things about daggers, particularly weak daggers, is that their attack speed is really damn fast. Much like hand-to-hand fighting, you level it up super quick because all the game really cares about is hits, not damage dealt. Daggers are somewhat unique in that you don't actually need to be wound up to do full damage. There's practically no feedback in-game as to what a fully charged attack looks like, or whether you actually did one. So daggers are at very least easy to play optimally. Just mash mouse 1. Here's your puzzle box, Hasfat. Hey, did you guys know that the feather enchant is ridiculously expensive? I wanted to make one to increase my movement speed, but 1 point for 1 second on self costs almost 1,000 gold. No thank you. Hey Sharn. Oh, you want a highly specific skull from a highly specific person from a highly specific burial cavern? I just so happen to have it in my pocket. I was literally already there for different reasons. Before we go any further, Caius wants us to be level 3, so I indulge in a little training montage for early game stat optimization. Level 3. 5 to strength and speed, 2 to agility, and then it's off to Vivek for the paper chase. Soak up the damage as Hulleen slices his way through a racist gang, leave the bartender 100 gold for the cleanup, discuss the Nerevarine prophecies with Hulleen from within his own skull, purchase a second chitin dagger from Bisa, leave a bunch of crap on the ground in the Balmora Mages Guild, realize that dagger I bought was almost completely broken. buy a bit more training and hit level 4, strength, speed, agility. Now let's take a moment to talk about Morrowind culture. Our ace in the hole is a little thing known as rampant alcoholism. The booze here is real strong, like, real strong. Take a swig of Sujamma and you'll forget everything you've ever known, but also be twice as strong. 50 strength at the cost of 50 intelligence. It's not too expensive, but the real cost is the weight. 3 bramble plinths a shot. This is why we take Sujamma. Mazte is similar, but weighs the same and is weaker. Why is there no ferry service to the St. Holmes Canton? On my way to meet at Hiranir, I figure it's a good time to practice my drunken master fighting style on the lady standing guard over the Daedric Shrine. Her armor rating is really high. So even with like 500 strength from booze, it's still just chip damage. Morrowind's damage formula is your strength modifier, your weapon damage, and your condition modifier multiplied into a number, and then divided by the target's armor rating. The strength modifier is an additional percentage of damage for every additional point of strength over 50, and the condition modifier can really only ever be a detriment. So the entire damage equation is, as you'd expect, simply a multiplier on your weapon damage. I am doing like 300% damage from strength right now, but with a weapon that hits for 3 damage, this is still dramatically worse than you'd get from a standard steel short sword being swung by a normal character. A very strange thing that I'll realize a bit later is that the Dagger of Judgment is slightly different from a standard Chitin dagger. It has 20 more points of durability, capping at 400 instead of 380, and while Chitin daggers have a damage range of 4 to 4 on stab and 3 to 3 on chop and slash, the Dagger of Judgment has a 3 to 3 for all attacks. This is why, despite having always used best attack turned on, it's using slash animations. It also has, 25% less DPS? Strength damage enchant notwithstanding, this might actually be the weakest weapon in the entire game. But I will still need to use it, because I need a Chitin dagger that can hit enemies that are immune to normal weapons. Actually boosting the damage output of this dagger is a bit unintuitive because modifying the base damage barely gets you anywhere, and this is why we took the Steed sign and have been focusing on strength, agility, and speed. Because it attacks so often, statistical anomalies are ironed out, and we can treat it as a raw numerical equation. Damage equals base attack times attack speed divided by mischance. Mischance is ironed out by grinding levels, which we get by attacking often, and we attack most often by having a high speed, and a high speed is the most meaningful way to augment the low base damage. Post-production here. Speed doesn't actually affect attack speed. I only thought it did at the time. There's also a unique Chitin dagger in the Telvanni Quarter Canal Works that does more than twice as much damage, but it is the only Chitin dagger that actually has a damage range. I decided not to use it, but forgot to mention it. I do take her steel armor, but this was mostly a waste of time. I go up and say hi to the debt collector, ask him to train me a bunch of times so I can get bonus stats, and then kill him for the money back. Taunt spam him into a legal duel, and then remember, it doesn't work that way. Chitin daggers are actually really hard to find in shops. I guess nobody wants to be caught dead holding such shoddy merchandise. But I do manage to find a third from Roland Tilver. Back to the Balmore Mages Guild to sleep and get...
No.
To sleep and get the...
No.
To sleep and get... Level 5, Strength, Agility, Speed. This game hates sleep. I head over to the 8 plates and tip the bartender a few hundred to get better prices. This does actually save money if done correctly. Caius wants us to go talk with Hassaur, and then it's off to the Ursulaku camp. The most exciting part of the game. Constantly returning to a camp in the middle of nowhere 5 miles from the nearest fast travel point. I was really hoping these bandits would have a Chitin dagger. The more I can find, the longer I can go before repairs. Oh god, a Dragon Force slaughterfish. I do not feel bad about chugging potions to get through this nonsense. Level 6, the usual. Huh. Scamps are immune to normal weapons. I never knew. That is a greater bone walker. Whatever was in this cave is not worth it. You know, Nyx hounds just kinda sound like a drunk guy saying ow when you hit him. Set a mark at the Ursulaku camp, perform the sacred bribery ritual. Alm Civi back to Nissus for some repair hammers, and then it's off to the Ursulaku burial caverns. At this point, my hit chance and attack speed is getting pretty beefed, and it's become apparent that the one saving grace of this build is the ability to stun lock a target. These skeletons are generally pretty flighty and hard to lock down, but even without the strength damage, they cannot escape the animation lock. I ain't afraid of no Wraithosul Centipool. Level 7, same as always. Something's damaged my intelligence. Maybe it was the 40 gallons of elf whiskey I've been shotgunning, but a potion can clear that up no problem. Hey, did you know that you can pin the map to your screen by pressing the button in the upper right? If I'd known about this last run, I would have gotten lost 50% less. On my journey to go get super cancer, I decide to help Pemini because why not? And why is there a cliff racer on the bridge into town?
You in. Let me live.
Okay.
I cannot take anymore.
Ash slaves can deal a lot of damage unless you wait out their casts until they run out of magicka. Their spells also don't seem to have a wind-up, so they can just fly out during stun lock. So really, they're just a test of my patience. Level 8. Show Dagoth Garrus that while he may have reach, I have inflexibility. Pick up the Fists of Randagalf, which are now permanently fused to my hands. I will never take them off. Alright, I'm not going to be doing much fighting for a while in the story, so I take off all my equipment and head out to Telfir. Hand over the Dwemer Coherer, retrieve the boots from Tamriel's second luckiest NPC, get a 4th Chitin dagger from the skeleton, get cured, and then Divine Intervention to Sadrith Mora. While I'm here, I could do with a fresh 500 health potions. Lovely. I put on Caius' special agent clothes and make for Vivek to infiltrate Baar Dao.
What do you want? Die, Fetcher.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Skeleton in the Corpusarium didn't drop a Chitin dagger this time, so I'm back down to 3. When I was like 9 and watching my older brother play this game back in the day, I pronounced it Chitin, because my brother told me so. Of course, I also thought that jackalopes were real for like 10 years for the same reason. You know those things that people tell you when you're young because it's funny to lie to children? And then you never actually think about it until you're way too old. Just younger brother things. Chitin is such an overwhelmingly common mispronunciation that it almost feels rude to say it correctly. It's actually mispronounced in Baldur's Gate 3.
At the back of the crevice lies a bag enfolded in the chitinous squabbling of spiders.
So I can't blame anyone for thinking that's just how it's said. And no, it's not regional. Google has chitin as the official pronunciation for British and American.
Chitin. Chitin.
Anyway, we're off to Blota Heteria to go fishing in Hulamayan. Gilvis Borello condenses an academic credit's worth of lore on Morrowind's secret history into a 40-minute lecture followed by 4,000 pages of independent study. If that sounds familiar, don't worry, this one doesn't cost you $40,000 a year. The story kinda loses direction a lot, and I mean a lot. But when the journal stops actually telling you what to do, the answer is usually to go see either Caius or Nabani Mesa. Back at the Irshalaku camp for some reason, and we're sent to Kogoruhn. This is a pretty thick dungeon crawl, and kinda gatekeeps the endgame with a pretty steep difficulty rise. You can actually do this part of the quest chain at any time, and clearing it early is kind of a content creator flex, but with a build this weak, I am not looking forward to it. Armor doesn't help too much in Kogoruhn, too much magic damage, but I did seriously screw up by not bringing repair hammers. I just know that there's going to be a lot of heavy crap in here that I want to be able to bring back with me, so I traveled light. The basement closets have some incredible loot, and my security skill ain't great, but Caius' ring has a pretty damn good temporary buff for lock cracking. You should not sleep on this thing. Oh my god, a fresh chitin dagger. A gift from the heavens. Greater Bonewalker. Strength damage on every attack. I did bring some restore strength potions, but they weren't enough. Great. Oh Christ, how did I pull all three of you? So, the stun lock only really works if you're fighting one enemy. Crowd control? Yeah, I'm kinda screwed. Another issue is that fighting against enemies this beefy with damage this poor kinda puts me to sleep. If I forget to re-up my health potion every 20 seconds or so, and I will because literally all I can do is mash mouse 1, I'll just die. And I do. And the chitin dagger on that skeleton changed to a Nordic sword. Great. Well, the good news is that I don't get as much strength damage this time. But also, this. This is what a single kill takes right now. All three of my daggers are on low durability, so it's 1 damage per strike. I'm not even gonna bother with the Ash Vampire in this condition, so I just grab the Shadow Shield, the Daedric Gauntlets, and recall back to Sulmatul. A quick teleport to Nissus and a ride to Aldrune to buy some repairs and some repair hammers, and then I stay in town for a week or so vending goods to Lether Vari. The back half of the game requires some pretty substantial capital, and the goods from Kogoruhn can cover it with loads to spare. This isn't optimal resale, but the Creeper Shuffle is simply unnecessary, and outside of waiting 24 hours at a time for vendor cash to reset, this feels more or less like the intended way to sell this stuff. So now we've got like 23,000 gold or something stupid. That's enough to bribe our way into high politics. I teleport back to the Urshalaku camp and head east through the Sheogorath region to find the Wind of the Teeth and then follow the Foyada south to the Cavern of the Incarnate. I almost immediately stumble into an Orcish warband and waste like 5 minutes trying to chew through them before, once again, falling asleep at the switch. I'll go around this time. Level 10. By complete coincidence, I happen upon the cave at the break of dawn and can walk right in.
Nabani.
Sell all of that ghost shit. Urshalaku Nerevarine. The greatest reward of all is that you never have to come back to this backwater shithole. Of course, now it's time for Redoran Hortator. House Redoran is all about honor and order and all that nonsense, so it's the only house that you can't bribe your way through. But you do have to visit everyone in their bedrooms. I guess there's a reason why it's called being in bed with them. Of course, Bolvin Venom will never agree to anything, because he's a conservative, and there's absolutely no place in Morrowind for conservatives, I guess. Look, I'm a tool of the gods, and the only path forward is to slay the obstinate. So, I'll have to kill him later. We can do that while working on Hlalu Hortator. Hey, here's a radical idea I just thought up now and should have done in the last run. Actually asking NPCs for directions to the quest objectives. It actually works. Why am I so dumb? Well, modern day games rely on quest markers and have full voice acting, so the less you need to get done through NPCs the better, and it has just kind of become the axiom of gaming that if you are lost, the game won't help you and you should pull up Google. Not that the older games like Arena and Daggerfall were better about this. Fun fact provided by my viewers. UESP, the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, a wiki-like resource created by necessity, is an older web page than Google. Even when Morrowind was fresh, people still had to use the internet to get through it sometimes. Anyways, now we're off to Vivec to put the screws to House Hlalu. Crassius is easy. He just takes a 1,000 gold bribe and a limerick about a randy Argonian. Yngling Half-Troll takes 2,000. Drambero politely agrees before arranging to have the door to his house put back on its frame. And then the bad part of the quest rears its ugly head. The Dren Plantation is marked on our map if we talk to Crassius again, but it's still way the hell out there. For expedience, I didn't bring any of my gear, but I knew he had some good stuff on the shelf behind him, so I aggro him through conversation first and then steal it all. In all, goes pretty well, until his brother comes running up for some reason. When you aggro him in the conversation, it's a solo fight. He's not supposed to join you, but I guess the theft caused him to tag in? try that again and be better about my potion uptime.
I'll deal with you, big fool.
Okay, it might be time to give this jackass the respect he deserves. I'm going to place a mark at his position and wind up for a haymaker. Unfortunately, the Dren Plantation is within the fast-travel gravity well that is the Temple of Vivec, which means that legitimately the fastest way to get to Balmora is walking all the way to Saran. You know, in retrospect, Divine Intervention probably would have put me on the boat network faster. Post-production here. I pulled up the Almcivi zoning map, and it turns out that the Dren Plantation is just barely within the Balmora zone. The system works on a tile traversal system rather than raw distance, and even though I'm only 2 tiles from Vivec, I'm actually like 7 tiles from the temple itself. So basically, I'll be committing these 2 maps to memory going forward. Once we're here though, it's straight to the 8 plates in Balmora. 500 Sujamma. Teleportation doesn't care about encumbrance, so there. 25,000 strength ought to do it.
Die, fetcher.
Get wrecked. Without him to report the crime, I loot all that delicious gear and leave it on Vivec's porch for later. Dropping items on intervention spots is a pretty excellent form of item storage. Unfortunately, the arena canton is way too far from the temple to get to my showdown with Bolvin before my mega strength wears off. But him and his set of ebony armor are no match for my knife composed entirely of mud crab shell held together with netch tendon. I think that's what it is. It's too low poly to really tell. I'll spare you the 20 minutes of walking it takes to secure the votes of both of Orvestren's supplicants, and then we're Hlalu Hortator. Now all that's left is House Telvanni and the 3 Ashlander tribes. At this point, I'm seriously considering chugging another 500 Sujamma and just one-shotting Vivec so that I can skip to the end, because boy does this quarter of the game drag, but I'm charging on. Interesting speed bump. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore. I can't even barter with anyone in Sadrith Mora without performing the Ursulaku initiation ritual. You know, bribery? I always kinda assumed that people would treat you better in Morrowind if you were a Dunmer. Ancestral homeland and all that, but male Dunmer at least have a personality of 30, and with the propaganda going against us, we're lucky to get the time of day. First stop is Tel Voss to touch base with Master Aaron. I really have no idea why these Imperial towers are full of skeletons in Daedra. After getting some directions, I Almcivi out of there and use the Siltstrider network to try and negotiate myself onto the boat network. Kuhl is on the sea, they must have a ferry here. Siltstriders and ferries are kind of annoying because you can't fly direct to and from every node in the network. You have to accept some layovers. Take me to Fort Frostmoth, please. Oh, god damn it. All the NPCs you need to talk to for Telvanni and the Ashlanders are peppered across the Grazelands and the Eastern Archipelago. I find Thorana, and for once I make her fall asleep from talking too much. I drive a dump truck of money up to her house and she agrees to make me Hortator. Crazy how cliff racers can just attack you in the middle of town in this game. Maybe they're just really big seagulls. I have a talk with Elegnan and buy loosely what I remember needing for Zainab Nerevarine. Holy shit, did he just summon a greater Bonewalker and a cliff racer? That's a bit much, isn't it? I drive another dump truck of cash up to Drotha's house and then do her weird feet stuff. Don't judge. Divine Intervention back to Sadrith Mora, grab a few potions while I'm here, stain my travel pants farting hard enough to ascend to the chamber of Master Neloth, drive a third dump truck of money up to his house, and now it's Archmagister Gothran. Oh boy. This is probably the hardest boss fight in the whole game. Kogoruhn is a powerful mage with deep pockets filled with health and magica potions, and he has a Daedra on each arm. I'm gonna need to be at full strength for this one, so I gather all my gear together. It's all actually too heavy for me to carry it and any meaningful amount of Sujamma. Step 1, taunt spam Brolmir. There's a bit of Mazte here. Better than nothing. Step 2, taunt spam Endes Avel. Level 11, Strength, Agility, Endurance. Step 3, Kogoruhn himself. So, somebody in here has Reflect on, and it means that using the Dagger of Judgment hits me with damage, strength, and endurance. But I have to use it because Dremora are immune to normal weapons. Riveting gameplay. Finally! Mother of God, he still had 6 exclusive magica potions left. I only won by a lucky stun lock.
You must be joking.
Telvanni Hortator. A modest donation to Akatosh will restore all attributes. Altar and Sadrith Mora is pretty much on the Guild Guide network. Are they shrines to Akatosh or Talos? Are they the same? I mean, the literal progeny of Tiber Septim, Talos himself, channeled the power of the gods to become the avatar of Akatosh, not the avatar of Talos. The Septim bloodline is Dragonborn, right? That's where the divine power comes from. The coin has the likeness of Tiber Septim, but says, "Praise be Akatosh." I've said it once, I'll say it again. Dragon breaks are weird. Okay, I can leave my burdens on the floor of the Mages Guild again. I'm pretty short on money after all that dump trucking, so I sway my Dumpion over to Letharvari again and offload some more glass gear from Kogoruhn. That place just keeps giving. Level 12, Strength, Agility, Endurance. I really shouldn't have left all the gear at the Mages Guild, because now I have to go kill half the Arabanimsum tribe. Oh well, creative use of some teleport spells will fix that. Hey, is that $10? Alright, Hanamu, lucky for you, the clothes make the man. You know, the Ahamusa Ashlanders aren't actually that far away from civilization. I'm sure in lore they're about a 2-day journey, but you can basically see the camp from Tel Voss. Alright, lady, I forgot to get water walking, so let's see if you can keep it together for approximately 2 kilometers. Nope. Ever seen a slaughterfish on land? You have now. Alright, come touch the statue. No, don't get caught up in combat. Bad wise woman. Touch the statue. There. Peace. Zainab is the last Ashlander tribe left, and it's a real doozy. Cowshot's first request is some Jordans. Thankfully I bought some just for this occasion. The second task is killing a vampire named Calvario, who's located up north. Calvario deals mostly health drain attacks. The armor won't help me, but it pays to be prepared. I'll civvy back to Aldrune and find a third chitin dagger for sale at the General Trader. Thank God. Level 13, and I have literally never seen this. I have no bonus attribute points. It's awful, I hate it. Off to the north we find the Ancestral Tomb with 1 tree on each side. No, not that Ancestral Tomb to the north with 1 tree on each side. The other Ancestral Tomb with 1 tree on each side that's farther to the north and hidden behind a hill. A bone walker. This game sure does love strength damage. Calvario isn't the worst if you use the strafing technique to dodge the touch spells. I love that Calvario has a weak fire resist potion since he's a vampire. Get that strength damage fixed, and now Cowshot wants a Telvanni bride, and definitely not a slave dressed up as one. Don't be absurd. I remembered the exquisite clothes, but not the Telvanni bug musk. Bug musk is a perfume, by the way. The lady at the House of Earthly Delights in Siran will tell you this if you ask her. Don't ask why I was there. So, you can actually use the ferry to Voss to have a slightly easier time escorting Falura. It's barely any closer, but it's an entirely on-foot journey. No swimming. After completing this video, I got to thinking just how bad all this actually is. hand-to-hand can cap out at about 7.5 damage and deals stamina damage first. That's inconvenient, but it also means that once this damage is gone, you just get to mash out the rest of the fight with no opposition, and can even have better crowd control. The biggest advantage that hand-to-hand has, though, is that you cannot damage your fists. They will always deal their maximum potential damage, whereas Chitin daggers break constantly and very quickly deplete to doing a single damage per strike. In their infinite wisdom, the craftsmen of Morrowind made a weapon that is worse than just throwing punches. Zainab Nerevarine. I did all this in a kinda weird order, so I have to double check my notes to realize that I'm now set up to talk to Vivek. Still not sure where the key is for the Archcannon's quarters. Maybe you're supposed to pickpocket an Ordinator, but it's easier to pick the lock instead. Blah blah blah, I have never had a 100% honest conversation with a god in any fiction as far as I can remember, but I agreed to take Wraithguard and save the world. Gear up back at the Mages Guild and then teleport to Caldera. I'm a high enough Mages Guild rank to barter with Fulm's mural now. This guy's kinda busted because he's a restricted vendor. This is the other half of the reason why you want to do the Mages Guild questline until you get the intervention amulets. Fulm's just so happens to have a Firebite Chitin dagger. I instinctually buy it and then also notice this ring. Hoptoad ring. 20 points of jump for 10 seconds. It's actually incredible, really speeds things up. Pretty bad for climbing mountains though. Yeesh. You know, Morrowind's kinda like Australia. Distant island nation, mystical heritage. Functionally, no native fauna that doesn't want to eat your skin and lay eggs in your bones. Oh Christ, a hunger. I think I'm a higher level than I usually am coming here. You know what? I'm not going to use that Firebite dagger. That thing does basically double damage, and I said I'd be doing damage only with the dagger itself, not the enchants. Don't worry, I never actually used it. Dagoth Odros. Golden Saint for some reason. My hand hurts. Keening. Ooh, it weighs 9 pounds and it... Brambleplints. It weighs 9 Brambleplints, and apparently that hunger reflected some strength damage on me. Need to get that fixed real quick. Veminol. A greater Bone Walker. What else would it have been? More strength damage. Great. Get that fixed real quick. The poison casts on the Ascended Sleepers are ridiculous. This Dremora Lord has Reflect, and I have to attack him with the Dagger of Judgment. More strength damage. Get that fixed real quick. Remind me to never go anywhere without literally 20 Restore Strength potions. Dagoth Vemin. Sunder. Level 14. Strength, Agility, Endurance. It occurs to me now that you can neuter the Ascended Sleepers with Cure Poison potions, and there just so happens to be one right here. So, yeah, just extrapolate that over like 10 hours. That's why I chose to not use the damaged Silver Spear from Saran. Another Greater Bone Walker, even more strength damage. And the Bone Mold Glove of the Horny Fist this time. You old dog. Blah 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 blah, fight me. Thankfully, all gods have one weakness. One strike with Sunder, 5 strikes with Keening. Get wrecked. And that's Morrowind with just the Chitin Dagger. Remember to subscribe to Just Background Noise,